Oh, well, I'm dumb. I forgot to check the audio. Yep, there you go. You guys can hear me. Alrighty, let's don't worry about that. New file, pictures. Let's go to screenshots. Yeah, we're gonna do this one, and then we're gonna take the extras off because I don't want to see that, and then uh, is it just fine to have Souyjuro? I kind of want to have somebody else, but yep. And then you already know what we're gonna do. The saturation all the way up. Where's the contrast all the way up? Vibrance all the way up. We're deep frying it so bad. And then, oh wait, I forgot the whole point. Sorry about the background noise, by the way. I know it's gonna be really annoying, but we're here with some more Witching a Holy Night, so gonna do Southern Glow. Blah, blah, blah. Now we export it. Full Metal Souyjuro. Souyjuro cracker cards. I still love that thumbnail. Where's yeah, Full Metal Souyjuro. Playlist. I'll put it in VODs. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in VODs and then. But that should be all set. Now, I'm not saving you as hot garbage. I can make you in 6 seconds. But you're still my beloved. Don't worry. Alrighty, let's get gaming. So where we last left off, we were doing the Carnegie case, trying to figure out what Sojuro's job is, a new job that he has. And I think last stream was like an hour and 30 or something. Yeah, around there. But in reality, we're like an hour and 15 because 10 minutes were spent making that thumbnail. So, you know, we're gaming, we're gaming. Yeah, I like my own stream. And yeah, no, let's get gaming. Right back. Nope. Wrong thing. Back. Search for bookmark. Yep, this one right here.
チャリースお呼びとあらば補習だろうと即サボり遊びのお誘いだけは断らない木の実くんです
Suspect A was apprehended with ease. Akko and Tobimaru were both on the student council, so they knew their target would be at school for remedial lessons. Wow. Well, I mean, if he ditches class, I wouldn't be surprised, but remedial lessons, that's crazy. Toyomaru got a girl in Kinomi's class to tell him he had some good news to share outside. Kinomi took the bait and came running outside to running out the school's front gate as fast as he could.
補習中呼び出して悪かったな。別に悪くないぜ。補習を口実にバイトをサボってみたものの、やっぱり補習もかったるかったんで、出席だけ取って保健室で寝てただけだし。
Oof, man, this guy's gonna be a full-on, what's the word? Burnout. There you go, burnout.
ちょうど暇してたところに殿下からコールだろ。合流できると飛んできたわけさ。
I guess I hope he isn't a burnout. That's kind of crazy to put on somebody's name. Alright. Kenobi gave a double thumbs up to show he was really ready to have some fun.
そうか。てっきり外で遊び歩いてると思ったが、助かったぜ。お前、連日ゲームセンターに入り浸りだって聞いてたからよ。ああ、あれね。ちょうど昨日ですっからかんよ。ゲーセンでおごりまくるのは気持ちいいけど、後に残るのは虚しさばかりだよな。他校のヤンキーどもと仲良くなっても嬉しくねえっつうが、女っ気皆無というか。なんで女の子はゲーセン嫌がるかね。ま、それも過去の話だけどね。所詮ポット湧いたあぶくぜに使っちまった金の話をしてもしょうがねえ。俺たちは明るく今の話をしよう。そうだろう、リッチな飛び丸くん。その有り余る財力で今日は僕をどこに連れて行ってくれるんだい？ああ、その前にこちらの御人がお前に話があるってよ。え？
こんにちは、木の実くん。そのあぶく銭の話を聞かせてもらえるかしら。
Kinomi's expression went blank. If anyone could sniff out danger, it was him, and it stank like his impending doom.
僕勉強したいんで戻っていいでしょうか。
もちろん。洗いざらい質問に答え終わったら戻っていいわよ。こっちも時間が惜しいからスムーズな自白を期待するわ。
What's so scary is that this sprite right here of Alko is so misleading. Like, oh, seems like a happy teenage girl. No, she's evil. She's like sinister. Especially when it comes to stuff like this.
それで、あぶく銭って何の話？あなたの月々のバイト料は2万円前後よね。その金額で3日近くも王様の真似事は難しいと思うのだけど。
I think the next logical question would be if he had begun a life of crime.
なんだよ、会長には関係ないだろう。そもそも自白って何ですか？いきなり犯人扱いとか、いくらなんでも応募じゃねえの？つうか何の事件これ？
まだ事件かどうかは何とも。最近お金の回りがいい生徒がいると聞いて調べ始めたばかりだから。毎日何万円ももらえる仕事なんて学生には目の毒だし、そういったアルバイトは学校側に報告されてないしね。生徒会として危ない仕事だったら注意してあげないと。
Alko was still smiling as she inched closer to Kanomi. She had never spoken to him this nicely after what he had done at the entrance ceremony. That alone was enough to make him think he was in big trouble.
それは初耳だな。最近金回りがいい生徒ね。俺のは違うよ。今まで貯めた貯金をなんとなく使っただけ。クリスマス前だからこう派手に錠剤しとこうかなって、役落とし的に。普通クリスマス前は貯金するもんだけどな。
ダメよ築地君、デリカシーが足りないわ。
What was it? Was it R? It is R. Alright, it's been a little bit.
残酷な事実は口にしたくはないけど、木の実君にはイブを過ごす相手がいないってことでしょ。学友としてそこを追求したらかわいそうよ。
いるわい、本命ぐらい。真剣に同情する方がデリカシーに欠けると思うよ俺は。
あら、 じゃあイブ用の資金は取ってあるの？
当たり前さ。臨時収入と貯金は別。俺通帳親父に握られてるからさ、予定外の入金とかすぐバレて怒られるんだよ。どこで悪さしてきやがったって。部屋も妹がチェックするしさ、隠し場所とかないんだよ。天井裏に隠したエロ本すら見つけられるんだぜ。万札入った封筒とか見つかった日には警察に連れて行かれる。
Man, that's not something you admit. That's not something you admit, bro. They are not your friends. That's not something you tell them. Oh, that's weird. Konomi laughed awkwardly as if he was ashamed. He wasn't even aware just how much he had let slip.
へえ、臨時収入？さっきと話違うみたい。
いやー、それはほらバイト先のボーナスみたいな。5000円ぐらい上乗せしてもらったの。ほんのちょっとだけだって。事件性とかないって。
万札入った封筒について詳しく。
うわ、話せば話すほど食い違っていくぜ。なんだこれ、孔明の罠か。会長近い。ほらすごい、なんか寒い。しかもローファーじゃなくてブーツですか。
Oh, dang, I skipped it. Hold on.
会長近い。ほらすごい、なんか寒い。しかもローファーじゃなくてブーツですか。この前封じられた俺の記憶が蘇りそうなんですけど。
Konomi backed away slowly.
木の実くん。
Oh goodness, she's
時
so
間がないって言っ
close.
たの。もう一度アピールするべきかしら。
Goodness, alright.
直接体に。
Oh, the music was cut. Oh, good lord. The threat of a kick to the face from Alka was enough to show him that she was serious.
分かった、話すってばもう。臨時収入ってのは本当だよ。新しいバイトがあってさ、そこにしずきを紹介したら先輩にボーナスもらったんだよ。
なんですって？
If Konomi really was working at the same part-time job as Souyjuro, she wanted to get as much information from him as she could. This was the exact response she wanted from Konomi, if not better. But she felt dizzy from the implications.
紹介したらボーナスをもらえるって、それ。
It was the oldest trick in the book for pyramid schemes and other unscrupulous business practices.
いや、それがさ、しずきが稼ぎを増やしたいって言うんで、ちょい怪しいバイトを紹介したんだよね。
This went back all the way to before final exams. Konomi told Souyjuro about a job he heard from an older student. Since the job required a kind, honest young man, Konomi reluctantly gave up on it for himself and instead passed it on to a friend he thought fit the description.
信じられない。そんな怪しい話にクラスメートを放り出しておいて、まだ友人顔するとか。木の実くん、普段何考えて生きてるの？
友達でも紹介するでしょ、こういうの。むしろ本当の友情ってこういうものよ。しずきも助かって俺も潤うんだからさ。無償の友情とかもう流行んないですよ。
そりゃそうだけど、そういうのはちゃんとケツ持つ覚悟がある時だけ口にするものじゃないの？
何それ、めんどくさい。会長、男同士の友情に幻想持ちすぎだってば。基本俺たちみんなバカよ。
That is.
あなたを見てると本気でそう思えてくるから不思議ね。
I don't like that that's all inclusive.
飛び丸。
But he might be right.
あんたよくこんなのとつるんでるわね。
That's the thing, he doesn't.
はいはい、そこまで。説教するならまた後でな、青崎。そいつ素でバカだから、本気で構成させたかったら一日使うぞ。
いや、足りますよ。ちゃんと一日で構成できます、僕。ただ寝ると忘れちゃうだけで。
ほらな、てめえがバカだって自覚している分、気づいてないやつよりは付き合いやすい。この若さで情けは人のためならずを実践してる野郎はそういねえし。
納得。確かにあんたと気が合いそうな性格ね。
いや、参ったな。 なんだよ二人とも、いくら俺でも照れるじゃんか。今俺のこと褒めてなかった？
褒めてね。
褒めてないわよ。
ですよね。
I would say poor Konomi, but he brought this upon himself. So, with Konomi leading the way, Alko and Tobimaru arrived at the part-time job in question. They moved past the new entertainment district in front of the station and into the seedy part of 2nd Street. Alko pointed to where she had lost Souyjuro when she was following him.
この辺りね。木の実くん、そのバイト先ってどこ？
あの辺。
Konomi pointed at a 4-story office building. The entrance was on one side of the first floor. At a first glance, it looked no different from an apartment complex. The hallway on the first floor continued around to the back of the building. The stairs were located at the beginning of that at the beginning of that hallway when the first thing you saw after
ちょっ
entering.
とそこの路地裏に入りましょう。
Akko hurried off into the back alley where they were not likely to be seen. 3 students stuck out like a sore thumb in an entertainment district like this one.
で、中はどうなってんの？事務所って言ってたけど、どんな仕事？
俺に聞いてんの？やだな。俺が知ってるのはここまでだぜ。俺だって先輩に言われただけで中のことなんて知らないし、宗十郎をここまで連れてきたら先輩が紹介料くれただけだし。
You know, I should really do my due diligence and actually check if you guys can hear the sound. Yep. You guys can hear it. Alright. There you go. Alright. Their top suspect just admitted he knew no further details. Hosuke Kinomi, co-defendant, or perhaps who they thought may have been the main culprit, was really no more than an annoying witness.
参った。ここまで無責任だといっそすがすがしい。ところで木の実くん、西部劇とか見たことある？役に立たない情報提供者の末路とかご存知かしら？
いや、俺映画って苦手なんだよ。でもセーラー服と機関銃なら見た。主演目当てで。
そう？残念ね。夕日のガンマンぐらいは見とけばよかったのに。ま、どうあれ、情報提供者は悲惨な死を遂げるんだけど。
やる気満々だぜこの女。殿下、こんな教授をほったらかしにしちゃまずいって。首輪とかつけないとさ。
Kinomi, that's not okay to say.
築地？なんだよ、しけた顔しちゃって。あのビルが何か知ってんの？
まずいな。知ってるも何も。あれは最近やってきた詐欺まがいのセールス屋だ。英会話セットの販売と何ら変わらない。
Alko was sad to hear that the truth was just as bad as she thought. Kinomi seemed confused as usual.
それ、確かなの、カビマル。
ああ、親父の秘書さんから聞いた話だ。間違いない。表向きは新興宗教なんだが、やってることは羽毛布団の販売だとさ。小さまばあさま相手に質の低い羽毛布団を高額で売りつけているらしい。あの事務所も貸し事務所だ。1ヶ月もこの町で稼いだらあっさりドローンするつもりだろう。間違いなく宗十郎は騙されてるな。最高のカモだろ、詐欺師にとっちゃ。
Tobimaru thumped his shoulders in defeat. Alko, however, was already in full-on battle mode.
よし、潰す。その後、木の実は学校の旗のところに吊るす。
Oh. Alright.
時価？今のセリフだと縄じゃなくて首？脊髄にぐっさり？殺人？
いや待て青崎、それだと辻褄が合わん。宗十郎は大金を持ってたんだよな。それじゃあカモとは呼べねえぞ。
そういえばそうだった。木の実くんの発言に気を取られすぎて、あの大金のことを忘れてた。あれ？ってことはも さか。
ああ、騙されている側だったら金は減っていく。だが増えてるなら話は別だ。考えたくねえな。宗十郎のやつはセールス側に回ってるんじゃないか。
信じられない。宗十郎が詐欺グループの一員になっているですって。
Soldier doesn't even know what a scam is.
はあ、まさかしずきに騙されるようなやつはいねえよ。だいたい嘘つけないじゃんあいつ。羽毛布団を売りさばくとか絶対無理だって。
だから宗十郎自身それが悪質な詐欺だと気づいてないんじゃないか。
ほう、なるほど、そりゃ納得だ。あの純真さんがお年寄りに大人気ってわけだな。やるじゃんしずき。今度会ったら俺もお裾分けしてもらった。
木の実くんの構成は今後の課題として、どうしよう飛丸、もう少し様子を見た方がいいと思う。仮にしずきくんが関わってたら彼にも詐欺罪が適用される。まだ未成年だけど。
あくまで従業員だから実刑はかからねえとは思うが、敵さんはあれで食ってる連中だからな。宗十郎が雇われた時の契約書の内容次第だ。
そうよね。下手したら宗十郎自身もう入会してるかもしれない。
Look at them, they care so much about him. Ow, the tinnitus is back. Oh, good lord. Oh, wow, that was terrible. Alright. Anyway, so yeah, Alka looked a lot more cool-headed now. Tobymaru had been serving with her on the student council for over a year. He knew exactly what she was thinking at a time like this.
入会していたら脱会は難しいな。あいつ本人にその気がなくともハンコの力は絶大だ。それで青崎、どこまでやる気だ。
営業停止は最低ライン。進行は自由だって言うならよその土地でやってもらうまでよ。
だろうな。そんな顔してるぜお前さん。で宗十郎はどうする。とりあえず辞めさせるか。
当然。けどもう彼だけの問題じゃないわ。そもそもうちの生徒を雇おうとした時点で私たちの問題よ。しずきくんとは関係なしであの事務所潰すから。
いいけどな。厄介だぞあの手の連中は。サラ金と同じで法律上は何の問題もねえ。警察じゃせいぜい厳重注意レベル。下手に商売の邪魔をすれば損害賠償と言い出しかねえ。せいてはことを何とやらだ。
分かってる。まずは会社の概要と社長の素性、構成員の数を調べながら被害者の洗い出し。
Alka suddenly stopped talking in the middle of her detailed plans.
どうした青崎。
Oh. Tobymaru noticed right away what Alka had spotted. Alka was looking at the crowd on the street. A familiar young man wearing a coat was walking through the lively second street. He walked confidently up to the office building and disappeared inside. He hadn't seemed to notice the wary trio watching from the shadows. The young man, clearly Souyjuro Suzuki, had just started his shift, still oblivious to the severity of the situation he was in. Alka was shaking with rage.
待って、落ち着け青崎。気持ちはわかるが、あいつに悪気はだな。
Oh my gosh.
ああもうなんか無性に頭きた。
Alka raised her head in a fury and clenched her fist. She was no longer her usual calm and collected self. This is the student council president who ruled with an iron fist, fueled by her own righteous indignation.
飛丸、応援団の美濃先輩に連絡取って、今すぐこわもての団員20人ほど集めてきて。喧嘩になるかもしれないからそれなりの装備込みでって。
Alko darted out into the main street as she barked her orders. She looked like an esteemed general charging into battle against an enemy
いい
squadron.
のって応援団の団長のか。しかも20人って、お前一体何する気だ。
Yeah, this is
決まってる
insane.
でしょ。殴り込みよ。まずは法律面での制裁からなんて考えが甘かった。学生騙して私服を肥やすような悪党には物理的な制裁で十分よ。そもそもスケールが小さい
Oh
っての。
man, as soon as she saw Souyjuro.
こんなしけた街で羽毛布団とか売ってんだ。
Oh good lord, alright.
なんで落ち着け。さっきまでの平和的なプランはどこに行った。悪党を暴力で押さえつけていいのは警察だけだ。いいから踊り
I'm
や。
sorry.
何よ。その警察が使えないから私たちが出張るんじゃない。文句あるなら大案出せ。
文句はね、まず落ち着くって話だ。そもそも代案なんざ立てるまでもね。お前さん、さっきはどんな手を考えてたか口にしてみろ。まずは法律面での制裁をとか言ってただろ。
そんなのあんただって分かってるでしょ。あの会社の調査と並行して詐欺の被害に遭った人たちを探して、私たちが間に入って連盟を作る。ご老人ばかりを標的にしてるのは、おじいさんたちは世間の事情に疎いと見くびってるからだろうし。なんでおじいさんたちだけじゃわからない問題を私たちでフォローしてあげれば、被害者の会ぐらいは作れるわ。
よーし、その調子だ。確かに一人一人で掛け合っても連中にとっちゃ痛くも痒くもね。横のつながりを作るのは大事だからな。それで契約をなかったことにして取られた金を取り戻すか。
それは無理でしょうね。契約書は絶対よ。頭くるけど書かれたことは覆らない。今からできるのはこれ以上の被害を抑えることだけ。
それと
可能な限り金銭を回収する。羽毛布団ならクーリングオフが適用されるはず。全ての返品は無理でもやるに越したことはないわ。
上出来だ。それで行こうぜ青崎。何もお前さんが悪役になる必要はね。せっかくの法治国家だ。平和的に解決しよう。
それはそうだけど、こんなの部外者だから言えることよ。詐欺に遭った人たちからすれば取られたものは取られたままなんだし。
それを気に病むのはそれこそお前の仕事じゃねえ。まずはクマリンに連絡しよう。あいつ商店街の娘だからな。被害者の調査に向いているだろう。
小鹿にあんまり荒ごとに巻き込みたくないけど仕方ないか。オッケー、私の方から連絡する。飛び丸は美濃先輩への電話お願い。
あ、こっちの話なら応援団必要ねえだろ。
必要だってば。脅し要員だけじゃなくおじいさん間の連携に走ってもらわなくちゃ。先輩たちいかつい顔して優しいでしょ。クーリングオフは書面に起こすことが大前提。書類に弱いおじいさんたちの代わりに先輩たちに代筆してもらうのよ。
Give me 1 second, please. Hey, all, poop here. There you go. Alright, whatever.
なるほど、そりゃいい。数の暴力だな。連中も20人からの返品は夢にも思ってねえだろうさ。
Akko and Toyama are both not in agreement. Kenomi had been completely left to the wayside in this whole discussion.
なあ、クーリングオフってなんだよ。俺聞いたことねえんだけど。
買った商品を返品して購入時の金額を返してもらうことよ。 日本じゃ10年ぐらい前から正式に採用されてるけど、木の実くん聞いたことない？
いや全く。ただの返品と違うの？
同じだけど、こっちは国が後ろ盾になってくれるわ。本物の光が法を盾にするなら、こっちも法で突き破るだけよ。おじいさんたちには馴染みのない話だろうから、そこは私たちが代わりにやるってわけ。
In reality, only a very narrow range of products were applicable for the satisfaction period law, and it was currently unclear if those handled by the law of truth fell under the umbrella. If it was not applicable under this law, Alco would have to think of another plan. However, not 30 minutes later, that worry would vanish when they got the chance to examine an actual quote sold by the light of truth. Once Alco has established a plan, she would not waver from it. They had made a cafe with a view of the office building, their command center. I feel like whenever I'm playing this game, it feels like I get worse at reading. It's actually insane, bro. I generally feel like I just, when I started reading this compared to now, I feel like I'm substantially worse. That or I just have a headache, it's hard to tell. Oh man. Oh. What a time to choose to stream, right? What a time to choose. Excuse me. They had made a cafe with a view of the office building, their command center. And after they got together others from the student council for backup, their one-day blitz tactics plan began.
そうと決まれば迅速にね。二人とも連絡係よろしく。サクッと今日中に決着をつけましょう。
Tobimaru sighed at the thought of trying to complete everything in a day's time. Kinomi, on the other hand, wondered why he had been dragged in to help. Although Tobimaru had gotten Alka to abandon the idea of physical fight, Alka knew that the contact plan would be difficult to pull off and continue to research other options. There were many conditions that needed to be met for this plan to actually work. The major issue was the amount of time elapsed from time of purchase. For consumable goods, the time limit for a legal return was 8 days. If there were 30 or so victims, this would probably only be applicable to 1 or 2 of them. If that was the case, they needed to look for some other consumer protection besides the satisfaction clause.
何々？安価なものを不当な金額で売りつけた場合、暴利行為として公序良俗違反で契約が無効となる場合がある。ただし、公序良俗を根拠とするって。何よこれ、ほとんど売る側の勝ちじゃない。疑わしきは罰せずが法廷の基本だし、水かけ論じゃこっちが不利だ。
Oh. Oh shoot, I gotta get to that when I have the chance. Alright. There you go. It was a difficult situation. Sorry about that. It was a difficult situation. They wouldn't be able to stand up to an experienced group of scam artists with their limited knowledge of the law. They needed to fight fire with fire. Or in this case, a scam with a scam.
騙し取られた金額分だけ美味しい話で騙し取るって話か。
To do that, they needed more intel. Alco was studying the materials they collected for something they could use.
お待たせ。とりあえず追加候補10人分の住所と布団の現物持ってきたわよ。
Oh yeah, she gets to see her in her, what's it called? Her informal attire.
サンキュー。さすがくまり。本気出せば仕事の早いこと早いこと。
Alka took the list of victims from the student council secretary, Kojika Kumari, and immediately contacted Tobimaru on his pager. This is the 80s. I forgot it's a pager. Wow. Oh shoot. Man, that's crazy. I didn't even know she was a secretary either. That's crazy. Although pages could only receive short messages like call me, they were a powerful means of communication in an age where people relied on public telephones. Tobimaru called the cafe to give Alko an update and hear about the list of newly discovered victims.
被害者の会はできたのね。仕切りは青山くんにやらせて。 一応相手への牽制として名刺も作ってくれると助かる。事務局はほら、文化祭の時に作った偽団体あるじゃない。あそこの電話番号にしておいて。電話番は山城先生に頼み込むわ。
You want that bot to handle that? The victims advocacy group was currently at just over 10 members. The group's aim was to help the victims of the scam get their money back and remove themselves from the light of truth. Some of the victims had not even realized they'd been scammed, so with some explanation, about 10 more members were added. It helped that it was polite, young, well-dressed students who were giving them this information. The elderly generally seemed more accepting of anyone who was around the age of their grandchildren. That's so cute.
よくここまで調べたもんだわ。否定の20人なんてあっという間だったわね。あんたの言う条件が分かりやすかったから。60過ぎのご老人で一人暮らしで町内会に入っていない人を探せばよかったんだし、やってることは本物の光の販売員と一緒。でもこんなんでなんとかなる話じゃないと思うけど、結局のところ抗議するのが関の山じゃ。青崎、ちょっと何薄気味悪い顔で笑ってるのよ。
Akko looked up after being called out by her friend.
いやー、面白いもん見つけちゃって。成果の乏しい戦いになると思ってたけど、風向きが変わったわ。ほら、見てクマ、この羽毛布団のマーク。ん？
Akko showed her I'm sorry, not to get distracted, but I always find it so interesting how Kamari and Koshika Kamari, Aozaki Akko, yeah. So Kamari and Akko both call each other by their last names. You know, it's standard practice in Japan because of the culture. And I just find that so interesting. Like, it's a sign of respect, right? Because you guys don't know each other well enough to call each other by first name, like how Souyjuro and Akko do. But it's just so interesting to see as well, because I don't calling any of my friends by their last name outside of a joking sense, or like no, actually exactly like that, like a joking sense, just feels so weird to me. And just hearing it here as normal practice is like, that's so interesting and really cool. Not to like call it weird, just like it's different for me. It's different. It's really interesting. Give me 1 second, please. Alrighty. Akko showed her the product label sewn into the down coat. There on the tag was what looked like the Japanese Industrial Standards logo. The Japanese Industrial Standards help to maintain the quality of industrial products in Japan. Products with this mark were required to be produced in accordance with the industrial standardization law.
あれ？ JLS？ そう。こうなると契約書が逆に武器になる。百戦錬磨かと思ったけど、実際はウサギしか相手にしない素人ってこと。
JLS。
ええ、うまく話を持っていけば全額返済も夢じゃないわ。勝利の勝ち時はさぞ気持ちのいいものになるでしょうね。
Akko took a seat, still grinning from ear to ear. She didn't ring Tobimaru's pager. Instead, she dialed a different number under a red phone while humming to herself. Akko heard the familiar ringing tone through the receiver.
青崎、築地に連絡入れるんじゃないの？作戦が変わったって。それは後。今大事なのは交渉役を誰にするかよ。 私や飛び丸じゃさすがに貫禄不足だしね。こっちが有利になったとしてもまだ状況は五分だし、会話次第じゃひっくり返されるだろうから、被害者の会の代表はそれはもう少年のひん曲がった悪魔でないと。それあんたのことだと思うんだけど違うの？
That's very
い
true.
えいえ、こういうのは社会的立場のある大人じゃないと務まりません。
Well, would it be a priest?
安
Or would
心
it
し
be
てくま
someone
い。
else?
ぴったりのやつを知ってるから。ま、詐欺師には詐欺師ってね。
Is it the
こ
priest
の
that...
町には人を言いまかすのだけが仕事のやつって言っちゃったりするのよ。今日
No.
もやることなくて暇してるだろうし、たまには働いてもらわないと。
This game doesn't have a compendium, right? They don't. Well, they have an archive, but... Yeah, no.
彼女にかかっちゃサラ金だろうが教祖だろうが、1時間で精神崩壊。裸足で山に逃げ込むわ。
Alko kept the phone receiver at her ear as she delivered these cutting remarks. The ringing tone had long since gone silent.
もしもし、まさかとは思いますが、今の話は私のことでしょうか。
Alka woman's voice could be heard from the phone's earpiece. Alko innocently said her greetings and smiled like a hunter who had just gotten their prey to take the bait. It has to be somebody from the church, because who else do we know who's an adult who isn't Yamashiro?
常
Yep.
々思っていましたが。
Exactly. I thought it was the priest, like the head priest, but it's one of the nuns. Or one of the sisters, excuse me. That's interesting.
あなたには年長者への敬意が足りていないようですね。青子さん。
Tobimaru and Kenomi have returned from their tasks and stood there wide-eyed. The person Alko had invited to the cafe looked so out of place that it was a shock to everyone.
はーい、ゆいかさん。わざわざ
Yuika,
来ても
there
ら
you
って
go,
助
that's
か
her
るわ。
name.
事情は電話で説明したけど、もう少し詳しく説明する？結構です。本物の光のことは先ほどリツカから報告を受けましたから、あなたに享受していただく事柄は一つもありません。
She's so upset.
ま、ご機嫌斜め。よかった。そのテンションのまんま勝ち込みお願いね。一般人の一人や二人、ゆいかさんが本性を出せば睨むだけでそっとさせられるでしょ。
そうなの？このお姉さん、間教会のシスターさんだよね。俺密かに憧れてたんですけど。
Really?
いや、そんな場合じゃねえ。どうも、木南浩介っす。青崎さんとはあんまり仲良くありません。
Kenomi was clearly trying to... Oh. I thought he genuinely was. That sucks. Kenomi was clearly trying to earn points by showing that he also was not that friendly with Alka. Sister Yuika gave him an angelic smile
これは
back.
ご丁寧に。間教会で装飾を務める須瀬ゆいかです。はじめまして、大介さん。
いやー、すんげえ。本当にシスターだよ、シスター。会長、とんでもない隠し玉連れてきたな。あれ？でもゆいかさんに何してもらうの？いや、俺はいてくれるだけで嬉しいけど。
まあ大体想像できるが。はじめまして、シスターユイカ。三崎高校生徒会副会長築地飛丸です。
Toimaru didn't look so well. Perhaps he had figured out where this course of events was headed. The JLS label was indeed illegal. This discovery made Alco realize how they could get the victim's money back and run the light of truth out of town completely. Sister Yuika was her solution.
てっきり証拠に物を言わせて訴えられたくなければ示談で済ませろ、全額返して出ていけって話かと思ったが、恐ろしい女だぜ。追い出すだけじゃなくスカンピンにして放り出そうって腹か。
は？なんでそうなるの？何？美人なだけじゃなくシスターさんってそんな権利持ってるの？
シスターさんがじゃなくてゆいかさんの人間力と言うべきね。はい、これ被害者の会からの連名書。一応うちの応援団の先輩たちも待機してるけど、何人か連れていく？そうですね。逆上して手を挙げられては後片付けが面倒ですので、抑止力として5人ほど。 あとは青子さんが同行してくれるのでしたら、私としては不満はありません。
え、どういうこと？もしかしてシスターさんが話つけに行くの？
いいのいいの。ゆいかさんはこう見えて荒事の専門家なんだからねえ、ゆいかさん。あなたほどではありませんが、いいでしょう。今回は利益が一致します。あの事務所の方々が違法を働いているのは事実ですから。罪には罰を、善良な人々を、特に私たちの同胞を苦しめた手合いには相応の痛みが必要です。さすが泣く子も黙る鬼のシスター。期待してるわ。昔から商売敵を潰すのは得意だものね、あなたたち。言われるまでもありません。一つの土地に二つの教えがあっては迷惑です。
Though the two continue to antagonize each other, they entered the office building, fighting for the same team. The 5 burly members of the cheer team filed in behind them. They left behind a glum Tobimaru and a completely clueless Konami.
わかんねえ。青崎、あの美人さんに何やらせる気なんだよ。
そりゃお前、口にはできない残虐行為だろ。相手の弱みを握ったらとことん叩き、違法販売をネタにして契約解除をさせた後に告訴するって流れ。訴えるのはシスターの役目だな。立場上、学生である青崎よりシスターの方がお題目が立つ。何よりあの教会、たまに嫌な噂を聞くしな。連中、貯めた財産根こそぎ取られるだけで済めばいいが。
After taking a few deep breaths, Tobimaru also headed towards the office building.
天下も事務所に行くの？怖くない？
行かねえよ、おっかねえ。俺のはちょっとした野暮用だ。てめえも補習に戻れよ。今日の礼はまた改めてくれてやるから。
バッカ、補習なんてもう終わってるじゃんか。気がつけばもうすぐ夕方だぜ、夕方。楽しかったからいいけどな。
違いない。あっという間の半日だった。
Tobimaru waved goodbye and disappeared into the office building. Konami thought it was strange since Tobimaru had just said he wasn't going in there. However, he left as well after hearing a noise that sounded like glass breaking out at their floor of the office building. A wise man never courts danger, as they say. That's a nice line, I really like that. A wise man never courts danger. The discussion ended without any major issues. The inside of the office is mostly untouched. Only the center line of the desk had been pulverized by Sister Yuika. Things have been resolved peacefully without any bloodshed. The office had been conquered in about an hour, and Alko was now surveying it. A large desk had gone right through the window, flung through the air with a single swing of Yuika's hand. Wow, she is strong. The sales staff were shaking in the corner like they just seen the devil incarnate. Sister Yuika brought in 5 members of the cheer team to seize the office permits and other important documents. Unfortunately, the one thing Alko was looking for was nowhere to be found. She went to ask the sales staff still quivering in the corner of the room.
ちょっと3時間ぐらい前、ここに人畜無害そうなの来なかった？ビルから出てきてないからまだ中にいると思うんだけど。
Everyone shook their heads now. Nobody had seen a student who fit the description in the office. So I was kind of hoping when they saw Souyjuro walk in that it's just a multi-floor building, since they said like 3rd floor, that the place that they were looking at, there was another establishment in there, and the whole time they've been doing this is the completely wrong establishment. I really hope that's the case.
でもな。
She was still happy that she'd done a good deed here today. Tobimaru entered the office building and headed straight down the hallway. He He glanced at the stairs in front of him as he walked by, passing several tenants and heading towards the emergency exit at the back of the building. Tobimaro knew the geography of 2nd Street well. If his memory served correctly, there was some old one-story houses behind the building that had been around for... Okay, I think I remember. They were old tin-roofed rental houses that stood against the tides of time. Though overshadowed by the recent trend of 2-story apartments, they were still there, alive and kicking. At the back of the office building there was a river for processing wastewater. Beyond the river and the fence, there was many one-story houses. Next to the building there was a bridge that crossed over to the other side. It was a shortcut only neighborhood locals would know about.
なるほど。大したショートカットだ。地図なんて当てになんねえな。
As Tobimaro walked towards the bridge, he saw a familiar face exit one of the old tin roof houses. The young man was wearing a coat and was without a doubt Souyjuro Shizuki.
明日もまた来ておくれね。
Yeah, I remember now. I remember. Souyjuro crossed the bridge while the old woman who resided there saw him off.
副会長。ああ、奇遇だな、色男。
The two exchanged glances as they crossed paths on the bridge. Souyjuro looked fairly spent. That was all Tobimaro needed to see. Sojuro's new job was a lot harder than working for any scam artist. They both stopped to talk on the footbridge.
あの辺りに親戚でもいんのか?
I really like this CG. This is so cool.
いや、いない。一つ手に紹介されて、おばあさんの話し相手をしていただけだ。
For some reason, Souyjuro readily revealed what he had refused to tell Aka.
そんな気軽に話していいのか? 守秘義務とかありそうだが。
いや、秘密にしなくちゃいけない話でもないんだ。ただ、話しちゃいけない気がしただけで。飛び丸には出てくるところを見られたし、正直、誰かに言いたい気持ちはあった。
Leaning on the rail of the footbridge, Tobimaro urged him to go on. It turned out that Sojuro's story was nothing out of the ordinary. His new part-time job was about a home helper in that one one-story house. This resident was a widow who had been left alone after her son moved out of the city.
初めは
Off to the city.
ただのお手伝いだったんだけどね。
He spoke with a troubled, slightly regretful smile. Maybe he was ashamed of something he'd done. There was a tinge of darkness behind the wry, tormented smile on his face. Tobimaro found himself surprised at his own thoughts and slapped himself lightly on the cheek. This is his way of punishing himself. He wasn't sure why his imagination was running so wild now.
珍しく浮かない顔だが。あれか? 出て行った息子さんとやらに文句があるのか?
どうだろう。確かにおかしな話だとは思う。けど、俺はその息子さんを責める気にはなれない。
Soujuro stopped himself mid-sentence. He didn't think the son hated his mother so much as he did the town. He had probably just found somewhere better to live and moved away. Soujuro swallowed those bitter words.
お手伝いの料金は初めに全部もらってたんだ。今月だけという話なのに10万円は高すぎると思う。
He trailed off, muttering that he really didn't need that much money. The old woman had thanked him for his honesty. That was part of Sojuro's appeal, most likely. In a matter of days, the old woman put all her trust into Soujuro and treated him like her own grandson.
それは素直に嬉しいんだけど、問題は
She always saw him off with a smile and asked him to return tomorrow. Every time he left, she gave him a stack of cash and hoped that he wouldn't forget her.
あ? それだけで大金もらってたのか?
お孫さんの代わりをしてほしいと言われた。あなたは信じられるから、これで孫のように振る舞ってくれって。
なんだそりゃ。少しも信じてねえよそれ。金で動く孫がいるか。そりゃヘルパーと変わらね
え。いや、おばあさんはヘルパーさんにはお金は払わないと言った。信頼できないから。あのおばあさんが信じられるのはお金だけなんだ。
seemed to have some quirks about her, probably because she'd been living alone for so long. But at this point, she'd lost all faith in the goodwill of humankind. To her, the bonds of a family were nothing but fantasy. After being cast aside by her own family for so many years, the only thing that remained faithful to her was the money she'd saved. Over time, this led to her developing a strange complex. For her, the money she scrimped and saved, the last thing she could rely on, was the only one she could conceive of keeping someone in her life. Wow. Surprisingly dark.
それって結局金で雇った他人じゃねえか。孫の代わりとは言えねえな。
それはおばあさんが誰よりも分かってるよ。でも偽物だと分かっていてもそれぐらいしか信じられるものはなかったんだ。おばあさんにとって家に寄りつかなくなったお孫さんは今一番欲しいものだから、その代償として彼女が一番信用できるものを真心として渡してくれたんだ。
She wasn't buying him though. She wasn't buying him though. She just trusted Souyjuro from the bottom of her heart and was thanking him the only way she knew how. She didn't realize how that looked from other people's perspectives.
また厄介な事情に首突っ込んだもんだ。まあ、あんまり深く思い詰めるな。いい話じゃねえか。命より金が大事だったばあさんが今になって思い出の方に転んだわけだ。まっとうな話だよ。
そうかな。そうだといいけど。
It was obvious from Sojuro's expression that all this still weighed heavily on him.
なんだよ、煮え切らねえな。どうせお前さんのことだ。もらった金は一銭も使ってねえんだろ。んなことしてりゃいずれ年金も底をつく。そうなった時に丸々返すつもりだから青崎にも黙ってたんじゃないのか。
なんで飛び丸がそんなこと知ってるんだ。
まあいや、なんとなくそんな気がした。
Toyomaro decided it was best not to tell Soujiro about all the trouble they went through for him today. He knew Alka would only make him regret it later if he did.
でもこの話の一番難しいところはね、飛び丸。その人にはお孫さんはいなかったんだ。
は？
After a few moments of surprise, Toyomaro let out a sigh. He understood. Being widowed with a son who's moved into the city and grandchildren who never visit, that was normal, full and rich life. Sometimes, however, a person's dreams were all that kept them going. The bottom is limitless. For every tragic life, there was another even more tragic than that.
油断すると思うんだ。このみんな幸福そうに見えるのに裏を覗くとそうでもないのはなんでだろうって、なんか街全体に騙されてるみたいだ。
Toyomaro leaned over the railing and looked down at the bustling town below. In the end, Sojuro's worries stemmed from his feeling lost in this environment. The woman who walked through life alone into old age. Toyomaro struggled with being antagonized by his entire family. Those were both personal matters. Still, Sojuro's problems stemmed from the nebulous entity of the town itself. For every bit of progress made through modernization, there's also people left in growing misfortune. It didn't matter whether they were unequal in wealth or compassion. It was all the same. The larger the town grows, the harder it becomes for the weak to thrive. For a young man who spent his life in the countryside where everyone helped each other, this was hard to understand.
Soujuro, お前、この町は好きか？
まだわからない。そういう飛び丸は？
まあ似たようなもんだ。好き嫌いも半々で、たまに何もかもどうでもよくなる時はある。だがまあ、お前さんとは真逆だな。俺はこの町のおかげで、てめえの悩みなんざ無視できる。ここに比べりゃマシだってな。空虚であろうと、この忙しさ、節操のなさは捨てたもんじゃねえってな。
ここに比べたらマシ？
ああ、違うな。マシというよりはありって感じか。バイトしてればたまに思うだろ。街ってのは隙間を作らないように回ってるんだ。欠席にしろ空席にしろ、空きができたらすぐに埋められるようにできている。当たり前のようで、こいつはよくできた共同体なんだよ。昨日までは誰でもなかった他人が明日には必要な隣人になってるかもしれない。昨日まではなかった街角に新しい建物ができていることもある。まるで毎日が切った縫ったの大手術だ。それでもうまく回ってることに真剣に感心する。本当に何かの弾みで思うんだよ。俺はてめえだけで生きてるんじゃなくて、どうでもいい誰かのどうでもいい頑張りのおかげでこうして管負けてるんだってな。持ちつ持たれつだ。そういう巡り合わせを成立させているだけでもどんなバランスなんだって呆れるわけだ。
Just as the mountains are alive, so is the city. Toyamaru didn't seem to like the way that living creature had manifested itself. But even still,
そうか。敬意を払ってるんだな、飛び丸は。
まあ照れくさいがそういうこと。
someone who was born and raised in the city, Toyamaru was thankful that complete strangers were able to help each other out.
つうか、お前さんは贅沢すぎる。初めから好きなところに住めるやつなんていねえだろ。生まれる場所は選べねえしな。単純な話、自分が住むって決めたところを好きになるしかねえってことだ。
Toyamaru gave Sojuro's back a hard slap and made Soujuro straighten up his posture and snap him out of his slump.
でも飛び丸、そこに住むって決めても好きになれなかったらどうするんだ？
どうしても好きになれないやつは違う土地に行けばいい。嫌なら逃げてもいいんだよ。放浪するのも人生だぜ。
Soujuro was so impressed with Tobimaru's words he couldn't speak. They gave him a new perspective. It wasn't just the words. Don't be scared to run away from a bad place. When the world is this, bro. Oh, never mind. What had really left a strong impression with was Tobimaru's confidence. Although he had been born in this town, he spoke freely of abandoning it.
飛び丸から逃げるなんて言葉が出るとは思わなかった。
逃げる先があるなら逃げてもいいだろって話。そりゃ勝ちとか成功とかそういう言葉に固執するのも悪くはねえさ。富と名声はいいもんだしな。だが俺にはどうも勝ち続けるっていうのは固まるってことに見える。息苦しくてしょうがない。青崎みたいにがんじがらめになっても突き進むパワーもねえしな。心情は軽い方がいいだろうよ。
ん？人生は軽い方がいいのか？
いや、軽いとか手堅いとかそういうんじゃなくて、俺はもっとこうロマンあふれるっつうか。
Toyamaru furrowed his brow, his inability to find the proper words. What he wanted was simple.
そうだな。俺はきっと笑える人生が送りたいんだ。
That was how he saw life. Tobimaru tried his best to put into words his thoughts, hoping his friend would find him useful.
漫才師か？
Tobimaru's shoulders slumped in disappointment. But even so,
そんなもんか実際。
the more he thought about it, the more he realized that Soujuro wasn't really wrong. There was no end to human desire. The perfect life was an unattainable dream. The only way to really win was to be able to say with your dying breath that you had truly enjoyed living.
たく、青崎の影響かね。考えなしのバクとかっていうの。あいつ、ボニー&クライドとか大好きなんだろうな。
Tobimaro tiredly scratched his head. He never would have said something like this last year, considering how pessimistic he had been then.
ともかくだ。他人の事情にいちいち落ち込んでるようじゃ日が暮れるぜ。いや、実際もう暮れかけてるけどな。とんだ道草だ。
そうか、引き止めてすまなかった。飛び丸は他に用事が？
俺もおとなしく家に帰るとするか。そっちも日が落ちる前に帰れよ。何をしていたか聞かれたら隠さず事情は説明しとけ。その話、お前が思ってるほどひでえ話じゃねえから。
Souyjuro frowned and fell silent. He still hadn't come to terms with his arrangement with that old woman yet. If he hadn't gone there in the first place, she might have not felt like anything was missing in her life. That feeling of regret was exactly why he wanted to talk to somebody.
お前、残酷なことをしたと思ってんだろ。ばあさんの人生に今からじゃ取り戻せないものを見せつけた。どうかな。
Souyjuro was stunned in silence. Tobimaro knew exactly what Souyjuro
そりゃ違
regretted.
う。思い上がりだぜ、宗十郎。いいか、そのばあさんも自分は人生に失敗したなんて思ってんなら、今の自分にできることをさせればいい。幸い金は腐るほどあるんだろう。なら思いっきり人助けをさせてみろ。金で救える不幸なんざ山ほどあるだろう。で、ばあさんがどんなもんだと胸を張れたんなら、それは間違いなくいい仕事だ。少なくとも俺は気持ちがいい。
それはおばあさんの苦しみを解決していない。
解決できねえ問題は放っておけ。そのばあさんには今他に解決できる問題があるんだから、それでいいじゃねえか。で、悪いけどお金はこれから世のため人のため自分のために使うから返しておくれとなったらば、ばあさんの勝ち。偽物の孫なんざよりよっぽどいい生きがいに目覚めたわけだな。しかしこれで満足したから残りはやっぱりもらっておくれといえばお前さんの勝ち。ばあさんにとってはやっぱり孫の方がいいってことで、そん時は大手を振って大金持って帰りやがれ。
なるほど。
Souyjuro clapped his hands together. He was finally able to accept these conditions as fair.
すまない。ありがとう、飛び丸。
His smile was no longer bitter. He would do whatever he could to help that old woman choose to assist others in need. Tobimaro thought that such unwavering confidence was a sign of true freedom.
気にするな。礼を言うならお互い様だ。じゃあな、宗十郎。休み明けにまた学校で。
His goodbye wasn't the friendliest, but Souyjuro didn't mind. He ran home with a big smile on his face. Tobimaro's smile was a bit less carefree as he left the footbridge. The time was 4:30 in the evening. Oh, it's almost 4:30. Night would soon fall over the midwinter landscape.
ただいま。今夜はまた一段と冷えるね。
I didn't think she'd be home by now, but she is. Wow. Alco and Alice were both in the drawing room when he returned. Neither of them had eaten dinner yet. Alco looked displeased. Alice sat uncomfortably on the sofa.
あれ、もしかしてこっちの帰りを待っていたのか？
Alice quietly affirmed his assumption. Alco vehemently denied it.
青崎、俺の気のせいならいいんだけど、なんだか昨夜以上にどうかしてないか？
Sojo had gotten slightly better at reading the room, but he still had difficulty choosing the right words. I'll show you worked up was what she wanted to say, but she stopped herself. She wasn't exactly all that angry with Soujiro, but
どうかしてるの青子。してないわよ。してるのは宗十郎の方だっていうの。
oh my gosh, that face, man, I can't. Whenever she gets pressed is hilarious. Oh man. Alright, let's see. Alice's additional remarks seem to have been the tipping point. Sojo thought this showed she was indeed worked up about something.
しずきくんがどうかしたの？彼、今夜は比較的まともだけど。
Sojo felt like that was pretty offensive too, but let it slide.
もう分かったわよ。そっちから切り出すまで黙っていようと思ったけど、私の方から聞いてあげる。宗十郎、あんた、本物の光って名前に聞き覚えはない？
いや、全く。初めて聞いた。
でしょうね。名簿にあんたの名前はなかったもの。なんだってあんな勘違いしちゃったんだろう。骨折り損とまではいかないけど、また良くない評判立てちゃった。
Akko let out an exaggerated sigh and flopped down on the sofa. Seeing Akko in this weekend state as an opportunity, the blue robin flew jauntily down from the sunroom.
見てたっす。自分見てたっす。ご近所じゃもうおひれつきまくりっす。青崎さんとこの娘さんがまた指一本で見せつぶしたとかマジパニー。指先一つでダウンとかどこまで都市伝説作る気っすか。
The robin continued to chatter praise for Akko's deeds of valor. Akko knocked it away with a flick of her finger and picked herself up off the sofa.
今日はお金持ってないわね。例のアルバイトはもう終わったの？
いや、まだ続いているよ。あのお金は預かり物だから、朝のうちに口座を作って預けておいた。
預かり物？
そう、預かり物。きっと全額返すことになる。
Soujiro took off his coat and began talking about his job as home helper. He kept it simple, explaining how things began and the conclusion he'd come to with Tobimaru earlier. Akko seemed stunned by the outlandish circumstances, but in the end,
はいはい、やっぱりね。安心したっていうか、がっかりしたっていうか。
she was back to her usual offensive self. However, there was another girl in the room who had at this point gone pale.
ということは、それはしずきくんのお金ではないの？
ああ、人様のお金だよ。
Oh, Alice, no. Oh,
なんか
no.
とんでもない顔してるけど、どうかした？それがどうかはしてないけど。はい？
Alice handed out menus for the local soba noodle shop in a cafe. The blood drained from Akko's face as she took everything in. Alice quietly passed her a small note. On it was hastily written order that was more than enough food for the three of them.
まさかもう注文を？だってそろそろごちそうのタイミングかと思って。
And so you use Sojiro's money? Oh my gosh, Alice's accusing gaze fell on Soujiro.
え、俺？なんで？
そりゃあんたがいらない期待を持たせたからでしょう。アリス、あんなに喜んでたじゃない。明日はごちそうねって。
How is this his fault? Soujiro clapped his hands together for the second time today. He remembered that Alice had said that yesterday.
ええ、あの夜、しずきくんは同意してくれたわ。
Alice was eager to emphasize that this was not her fault.
いや、それは。
そうね。アリスのミスなのは確かだけど、悪いのはあんたもよ。大金を持ち歩くってのは、それだけで危険なんだから。いい教訓になったんじゃない？観念して、二人で感情折半しなさいよ。
いや、 それはできない。あのお金は預けてきたし、そもそも500円しか持ち合わせがない。
そう、合わせても足りないわね。試したことはないけど、出前にキャンセルは効くのかしら。
An heir of despair fell upon the Koronji estate. Alko sighed as if none of this involved her. She hated to call them, but perhaps this was her fate.
ま、そうなるか。いいわよ、私が出してあげる。今日は臨時収入があったから、パーッと派手に使いましょう。
Alko's sudden proposal made both Souyjuro and Alice perk up.
つまり青崎のおごり。
Oh, thank goodness.
そんな、信じられない。いいの、青子。呼んじゃったものは今さら止められないでしょ。さっき電話したんなら今頃はもう坂を登ってきてるだろうし。まあそもそもこのお金も宗十郎が発端だしね。人助けをしたら被害者の会からお礼をもらっちゃったのよ。だから気にしないで。なんか居心地悪かったし、錠剤と思って商店街に還元する。本音言うとちょっともったいないけどね。
Her roommates began celebrating. Akko sank back into the sofa upon seeing the happiness her gesture brought.
ああ、悪戦身につかずって言うけど、ほんとその通り。
And thus, the curtain closed on a little incident involving a lot of cash. The blue robin flew down on the table again.
まったく嫌な山だったぜ。
The robin chirped and mimicked puffing on a cigarette.
まあそれはそれとして、青子さんの空回りっぷりを忘れないよう、これをカーモネーギー事件として記録しとくっすね。
The blue robin continued to laugh at the day's hero. Akko flicked the bird away just as someone knocked at the door. Alice had ordered her favorite omelet dish and a set of cakes from the
まあ
cafe.
それなら。
Akko was quietly satisfied with the spoils of an honest day's work. Wow. Well, alright. The Carnegie case is done. Let's see how long. Yeah. Alright. That's not bad, Let me see. Let me check something real quick. Hey yo, Dot, I got you. Alright, well, the Carnegie case is done. So, let me see. I know that, yeah, I'm on chapter 9 now, so. Let me see how long I can go before I have to stop. Oh, God. Oh, excuse me. Alright, December, the month when even monks were busy at work. It was the culmination of the year. Perhaps due to all the put-off tasks built up through the seasons, the month always seemed to pass by in the blink of an eye. Scarred, scar red. Huh, that's cool. It's a cool, like, play on words. Cause like, you know, there's not homophones, that's a different thing. Actually, it might be a homophone, wait. No, because I think a homophone is when two words like sound alike or something. Homophone. So, it's not the same pronunciation because scarred and scar red are not the same in terms of like pronunciation, but it's a cool play on words. I don't know what the exact phrase is. It was a day unlike any other in December. Though none of them were any wiser of what others were doing, Alko, Alice, and Souyjuro spent the day attending to their own affairs. That's so cool, I really like that.
何これ。
Alko kept the urge to kill out of her voice, but her menacing tone still reverberated in the room. The sunroom was often used to dine in when the weather was nice, since it overlooked the courtyard. It was a room decorated with high-quality furniture and upholstery befitting a historic Western-style mansion. The fusion of Chinese, Chippendale aesthetics and traditional English Georgian elegance caused even Alco, a commoner, to think twice about doing anything unaristocratic on the grounds. Truthfully, she was sickened by the flagrant waste of money, but none of it was paid for out of her pocket, so she could have cared less what the purchasers spent their money on. 3 unbelievably out-of-place offerings sat atop the lavish sunroom's table as if enshrined. In stark contrast to the room, they appeared like meals prepared by aliens.
Souyjuro, これなんか新しい冗談。
Ako's trembling fist clenched and unclenched as she questioned the one responsible for today's menu. The clock struck 9 in the evening. Tonight's executive chef nodded dutifully, eager to explain.
これはうちの会社の新製品。パチモン臭いが中身は本当にパチモンだと木の実が言ってた。そんなことより評価すべきは社内販売なんで1個40円を切る低価格だ。すごいぞ。卵をつけても60円とか。
The corner-cutting chef seemed pleased with himself. Alka wanted to grumble that the real steal was her appetite.
そう、よかったわね。ところで、今日の夕飯はどこにあるの？
Chef Souyjuro thought for a second or two, then clapped his hands together in realization.
青崎、そんなに食べると太るよ。
つまり、これが夕飯だって言い張る気なのね、あんたは。
Oh wow, that's awful. Oh wow, that's
言い張る
terrible.
は何もこれ以外用意していない。
The two stood there, glaring at each other. Ako gave off an air that said she would rather die than eat this food, while Souyjuro was convinced she would capitulate eventually. He even considered chiding her for being a picky eater. As usual, the two could not see eye to eye.
いや、私は食べないからね、こんなの。
I know Alice is already eating it.
「お姫様みたいなこと言うんじゃない。だいたい今日の夕食代はこれで3名様200円未満なんだぞ。」
Souyjuro puffed out his chest at his penny-pinching prowess. Alice alternated her gaze between the two quarreling roommates and the strange food before her, which she had also never seen before. She remained a mere bystander in all this.
信じられない。一人60円の食事ってあんた一体いつの生まれよ。このご時世、新しくできた牛丼屋ですら贅沢に原価上げてるわよ、バカ。
青崎、1ヶ月の食費が3万円だけであんな好き勝手な食生活をしていたら、俺が君たちに殺される前に全員が飢え死ぬと思うんだ。確かに昨日のアリスの肉料理は素晴らしかった。グラム700円から肉は種類が変わるんだって感動した。生協の果汁 100% ジュースだってちょっと本気でバカにできるもんじゃないと反省したよ。けどあれが3日続いたらこの家はどうなってしまうんだい？
Souyjuro was making perfect sense for once. Fortunately, neither Alko nor Souyjuro noticed a silent stare of disapproval coming from Alice.
その時はその時よ。
Oh
そ
my
れにね、
gosh.
昨日みたいなのはめったにないの。アリスはあんたの料理に触発されて柄にもなく頑張ったみたいだけど。
With Alko's words, Alice closed her eyes. She might have been trying to quell her anger.
信じられない。じゃあ今までどんな生活してたんだ青崎たちは。
Yo, Dad, I got you.
その時はそれぞれで何とかやってたわ。飢え死に一歩手前ぐらいいい精神修行じゃない。
Her brazen response left him speechless. Though a story for another time, Souyjuro remembered a warning from a certain vice president who had complained about a certain president incessantly bugging him to take her to lunch at the end of the month. But that was neither here nor there.
そんな昔のことより今のこと。
Oh man.
前に見せたあの腕はどこに行ったのよ、宗十郎。あれを見込んで今日の夕飯を任せたっていうのに。
Out of everything, that seemed to be what ate at Alco the most. The stir-fried yaki odin he had prepared previously had been very well received. It had even melted away Alco's morning grumpiness with just one bite. However, Soujuro had not seen fit to tell them that it was one of the only dishes in his limited repertoire. For a bachelor, the ability to cook is as close to a superpower as one could get. Yes, I can't cook, I'm terrible. 15 years into the future, it would likely become a highly desirable trait. Regardless, that misunderstanding had led to Alco and Alice to overestimate Soujuro's culinary skills. Her ire finally made sense to Soujuro.
わかった。自腹を切るから出前を取ろう。作るにしても材料がないからな。その代わり、それは回収する。
Alco basked in her victory. It was then after seeing Soujuro's face as he went to fetch the delivery menu, Alco realized her misreading of him. What annoyed Alco most was the fact that such little effort was put into dinner. But to Soujuro, this dinner had not been about cutting corners, but rather about a meal he had legitimately wanted to try. Alco ruminated at how it could possibly pass as food for someone raised in the mountains. And then...
アリス、何してるの？
Alco noticed Alice standing near the table, holding one of the bowls tightly.
もうそれはいいんだってば。宗十郎に返してきちんとした出前にしましょう。
Despite Alco's words, Alice stood her ground firmly, clutching the bowl. In fact, she seemed to be embracing it.
これ、私のだから。
She liked it. Alice's faint voice drifted across the sunroom. And just like that, the night's menu had been decided by a majority rule. Alco's shoulders sank in disappointment at her lot that evening. Come to think of it, Alice was always peculiar about things she deemed hers. It was morning, and there were 10 days left in December. While the rest of the city was preparing for Christmas festivities, Soujuro headed to his part-time job. It looked like it could snow at any minute. The tree-lined streets were busy with foot traffic. These days were particularly merry. Students on winter break spent their days hanging out with friends while they counted down the days until holidays. I just realized something awful. Oh no. This thumbnail that I used for this stream? There's no way, right? Okay, no, I didn't. Alright, thank God. I thought I already used the picture before. Oh, okay, thank God. Let me check something. There you go. Alright, back to gaming. Colorful Christmas cakes lined storefronts, placed like charms to ward off evil. Huge advertisements adorned the sides of buildings. The station plaza bustled with pop-up stalls. Soldiers stepped out of the milling crowd into a phone booth. Safe from winter wind, the inside seemed warm by comparison. The thought that it would actually be nice to have one in the mountains crossed his mind as he inserted a coin into the booth. Into the phone. He dialed a number from his memory, his fingers punching the keys with somewhat practiced motion. After about 5 seconds, the phone began to ring. Another 5 seconds, another ring. 10 seconds had passed. He gazed through the window at the various signs of the surrounding buildings, and marveled at the sheer number of people out and about so early. The number he dialed was that of Tobimaru Tsukiji. Let's go. Main story recognition. The Tsukiji name was well known in Misaki as a distinguished landowning family going back generations. Incidentally, the residence is located in the neighboring town of Yashirogi. A kind, elderly female voice finally replaced the ringtone. After her polite greeting, she handed over the phone to Sojuro's target.
おはよう、飛び丸。
はい。おはよ
Not a morning person. He was still half asleep, or so it
一
sounded to
つ相談
Soujiro.
があるんだけど、いいか。
ああ、陽気に計らえ。
His response did not exactly inspire confidence in Soujiro, but he cut right to the chase. There was a long pause. He was hard to read from the sound of the receiver.
な単純なことで俺を起こすな。いいか、宗次郎。仲が悪ければ遊びに行け。機嫌を取りたきゃいいとこ見せろ。で、それが合わなきゃ早めに手を切れ。俺ができるアドバイスはそんなもんだ。
Tobimaru, you dog. And with a piece, Tobimaru hung up. It may have been 10 in the morning to Soujiro, but after dealing with what seemed like a 6 o'clock Tobimaru, all he could do was nod earnestly. He had a feeling his friend had just been trying to end the call, but deep down he knew that the advice was sound. After the phone ordeal, Soujiro finished up his shopping and returned to the mansion just before noon. He was greeted by the sight of Alko and Alice sitting in silent gloom, but he was unsure of the circumstances. From the outside looking in, it seemed like the aftermath of an argument. The silence was as deafening as a blizzard, or rather, the biting cold and stinging wind of it. And one might also compare the drawing room to an enormous walking freezer. It would not have been surprising to look up and see icicles hanging from the ceiling.
やっぱり今日もか。
He felt like a zookeeper pained to see the raccoon and penguin at each other's throats. In fact, he had seen this literally happen the other day at a zoo janitor job. Oh man, it's so funny. And now he glanced between them like a zookeeper trying to gauge the animal's temper. A raccoon and a penguin beefing is hilarious. Oh man, it's so funny, bro. A penguin and a raccoon beefing, bro. I love it. I love it so much. Ohio. Alright, needless to say, the silence meant they were not fighting at this moment. Dinner served as a respite for the conflict. Soujiro was oblivious to the circumstances surrounding the quarrel, but the day in day out battles against the mysterious mage was clearly taking a toll.
アリスはいつも通りだけど。
Across from the quiet and contemplative Alko, Alice was reading a notebook in her lap, as she was accustomed to. The book seemed somehow heavier than the other ones.
ただいま。煮詰まってるな、ここのところ。
He greeted them as he took off his coat.
煮詰まるぐらい事態が進んでるならまだ面白みもあるんでしょうけどね。今の御用よ、宗十郎。
Without quite knowing what Alko was getting at, Soujiro quizzically tilted his head. He told himself not to think too hard into it, but only made him more curious.
煮詰まってるってことはもうじき完成ってことでしょ。進展がないって意味合いなら行き詰まってると言うべきね。
Seemingly too preoccupied to scold Soujiro, Alko waved her hand as though shooing off an insect. Soujiro being
じゃ
Soujiro.
あ言い直して。いや、あれから進展はあったかい？
Soujiro held his ground.
宗十郎には関係ないわ。こっちの事情に関しては不可侵だって言わなかった？
Her response was calm but pointed. Surliness was her weapon of choice, and today she seemed determined to swing it at will.
もちろん聞いてる。ところで、お昼はまだだろ？
Soujiro chose to brush off Alko's attitude. If Alko's weapon was surliness. Oh my gosh, yeah. If Alco's weapon was surliness, Sojuro's was blitheness. Let me see if I can. I think I'm pronouncing them wrong. Yeah, what does that mean? Showing a casual and cheerful indifference. A blithe disregard. That's so cute. And surliness. Okay. So literally the complete the complete contrasting of each other. He wielded just enough of it to make Akko flinch.
どうしたの今日は？何かいいことでもあったわけ？
No. Soujuro shook his head.
まだなんだ。じゃあちょっと提案がある。
He dug around in the pocket of his coat, which was now on a hanger. Akko gave him a dubious stare, while Alice's ears perked up at his upbeat
実は
tone.
今日給料日だったんだ。お金も入ったことだし、外に遊びに行こう。
He spoke with a warm smile as he removed his wallet from his coat pocket. The other two did not know what to make of it. They definitely
ソジュロ。
not in a good mood. She wanted to take exception to his bright mood, but found herself wrestling with the idea of reacting positively to it. After all, he was making a gesture of good faith to try and make things better with what little funds he had. The thought itself was not a bad one, but there were always the chance that Alice would keep quiet until the slightest thing annoyed her, at which point she would ruin everything. Alka wanted to accept his goodwill. However, she was not in the mood to walk around town with either of the two, nor was the timing ideal.
悪いけど今忙しいの。暇になったら思い出してあげるからしばらく我慢して。
Alice seemed to give the same response, though wordlessly. Soujuro was not about to be held back by the sullen mood.
忙しいって、ここで黙り合ってるだけじゃないか。
Oh no,
徹夜
Soujuro.
漬けの時、気分転換は必要だって言ったのは青崎だろ。行き詰まったら回り右して戻らないとどこにも行けない。
He is right. But when someone's in a bad mood, you can't push your luck. Soujuro spoke with unusual confidence as he drew 2 tickets from his wallet and slapped them on the table. At first glance, they looked like advanced tickets to a movie, but not quite. They were tickets to a famous aquarium. To get there, they would take the rapid train and subway to a city several times more modern than Misaki. It housed not only the biggest shopping mall in the prefecture, but also a multi-purpose auditorium. It's set to open next year, designed to host international conferences and stage productions.
それと、夜はメシアンでカレーでも食べてくれ。
Saying that, he slapped 2 bills on the table, as if he had struck it rich. It was Sojuro's turn to make dinner tonight after all.
じゃあ、そういうことで。
His business concluded, Soujuro returned his wallet to his coat pocket. It was then that Alko realized what Soujuro meant by be seeing you.
ちょっと待った。そういうあんたはどうするのよ。
今日はアルバイト。
Oh, Soujuro, you legend. Soujuro was almost too quick with his response, helping Alko to see things for what they really were. Rather than for Sojuro's benefit, his gesture was instead an attempt to ease the tension that had built up between Alko and Alice. Though if asked, both girls would tell you it was an unnecessary gesture. Still, for him to pay this much attention to the household, if anything, gave Alko reason to reflect on her own immaturity. Alko glanced over to the still seated Alice. At the same time, Alice peeked up at Alko from behind her book. They kept still, staring at each other.
私は構わないけど、今やれることは全部やってあるし。そうね。そういうことならせっかくだし。
Alko stood up from the sofa, resigned to her decision. Soujuro watched on, a satisfied smile on his face. 20 minutes later, as Alko and Alice were done getting ready, Alko called out to Soujuro in the drawing room. Oh, right, excuse me.
それじゃあ出かけてくるから、あんたもバイト。Souyjuro?
Souyjuro was crouched in front of the television, unaware that the two had
もし
entered
か
the
して
room.
ビデオいじってるの？
ああ、ちょうどよかった。青崎、これ。
Pausing his audio-visual struggles, Souyjuro turned around. We've never seen her with her coat off with this informal thing. We've seen Alice like that, but we've never seen Alco like that. That's so interesting. That's so interesting. Oh man, Sojuro's bricked, bro. He froze in shock, forgetting what he was about to say.
私たちお言葉に甘えて出かけてくるけど、どうしたのよ一体。棚の後ろに落とし物でもしたの？
Soujuro appeared to have gone stiff. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so immature. Yeah, nah, I bet my man's on brick mode. I can tell. I bet he's on brick mode. Oh, man. But Alice silently nodded along with his bizarre reaction. She kept her thoughts to herself.
いや、なんかこう。
Still gawking, his voice stuck in his throat. He was blissfully unaware that the shock he was experiencing was the direct result of his emotional state.
それじゃわからないってば。まったく落ち着いてるくせに妙に挙動不審なんだから。アリスに煙たがられても仕方ないっていうか。
Alice looked on in silence. He was not confused during a daydream. That much he could tell. But this frozen look was by all accounts a first for
そ
Soujuro.
れで何かあったの？
ああ、いや、これなんだけど。青崎、ビデオってどう使うんだ？
Shaking his head to regain his composure, Soujuro pointed to the VCR. A VHS player sat on a shelf beneath the TV. Okay, almost 2 hours, almost 2 hours. Alright.
何？タイマー録画でもするの？
Alco walked over and crouched next to Soujuro in front of the TV.
いや、木の実からビデオを借りたんだけど、映らない。
まずテレビの電源が入ってない。
With a click, the TV screen flickered alive.
次、チャンネルを外線に合わせて。あら、意外にも真っ黒。木の実くんのことだからテープ頭から録画してると思ったけど。
During this time period, videotapes were still rather expensive. Therefore, it was only natural for people for people to not want to waste a single second of the tape's 120-minute wow, legit a
割と
movie.
趣味には気を使う性格なのね。じゃ、早送りっと。
Alco picked the small remote up and quickly pushed the button, making GT marked forward. The VCR beeped in protest. With several clicks and thuds, there was an empty whir from within the machine.
壊してないぞ、多分。
Yeah, I mean, it was off, bro. Literally didn't know how to turn it on. How could he break it? I mean, the vast majority of people who say this are actually very prone to destroying electrical equipment. But that is a separate matter. Oh, never mind.
テープが入ってない。
That makes sense. As soon as the words left her lips, it all made sense.
テープ？
Soujuro imagined adhesive tape, clearly confused.
宗十郎、木の実くんから何か渡されなかった？
渡されたけど、ほら、テーブルの上。
Though she had been used to it by now, she caught herself wondering if Soujuro was being deliberately stupid.
木の実くんが何て言ったか覚えてる？
テープ貸してやるから、家に帰ったらビデオを見ろ、と。
一番大事な言葉が抜けてたわけね。はあ、失望を通り越して怖くなるわ。あっさり順応しているように見えてこれだものね。
I think it's so cute. Well, first of all, I want to give this game an amazing, like, excuse me, I want to give it its praise because first of all, the reflection of the TV being the scene is amazing because they could have just had Soujuro and Aoko, literally like how you can see Sojuro's hair here, could have just zoomed out, had the TV in front of them, and those two there. But instead, they used the reflection with the static overlay on the characters, and having it be used here is so smart because it tells such a story of like Alice being in the background because she's usually pretty silent, you know, as we've seen throughout the game. She doesn't talk much, but her emotes are what give away her thoughts. And so seeing her in the background as these two are talking gives such like a story for the background. But then on the foreground you have Soujuro and Alice, of course, you know, they're having their conversation, we heard it. But just seeing their what's it called, sprites change and emote in the foreground kind of distracts from this. So if you're paying attention, you'll notice, but if not, you still have a good display in the foreground. It's just so interesting to me. It's really, really well done. Really well done. It was labeled Gaku Gaku, Animal Kingdom, African Adventure. To Aoko, this knocked Hosuke Kinomi down a level on the ratings file she kept with the student council.
で、このテープをデッキに入れて再生すればいいの。爪は折ってないから、録画ボタンだけは押さないようにね。
爪とは
ここ。テープの側面にへこみがあるでしょ。これをカバーしているのが爪。これを切り取っておくと、もうそのテープは上書き録ができなくなるのよ。そうね。例えるなら授業のノート。大事なものだから消しゴムで消えないようにフィキサチーフをかけたっていうか、ヒューマンエラーを物理的に防止するアナログな防御法ってわけ。
She inserted the tape into the VCR and handed the remote to Soujuro. Just a small interaction used up a fair bit of Aoko's patience. Completely ignorant of Aoko's feelings, Soujuro gleefully pressed the button. What a sweetheart.
前から危なっかしいと思ってたけど、まさかここまでとはね。時代錯誤にも程がある。あんた、山で何やってたの？空手家じゃあるまいし、熊を倒す修行でもしてたとか言わないでしょうね。
I know she's being not condescending. Condescending is part of it because she's, you know, he doesn't know. But facetious, I guess. I guess facetious, maybe. Even Soujuro managed to pick up on Aoko's rude tone, and he frowned disapprovingly.
もしかして俺をバカにしてるのか？
心外ね。事実バカにしてるんだけど。
She's so mean. Aoko answered unapologetically. On the TV, a crocodile's yawning mouth appeared.
そんなバカな話があるもんか。なんで熊を倒すために修行しなくちゃいけないんだ。
Soujuro turned around the TV, turned toward the TV in a huff. Perhaps because of his rare outbursts, he turned face to face with the gaping maw of a crocodile on the TV. He fell backwards in surprise. Aoko unpursed her lips upon seeing this, delighted. It was relieving to see the boy disarmed.
けど青崎、この機械ずいぶん埃が積もっているけど、掃除はしていないのか？
私はあんまり使わないし、アリスは見ないから今までほっぽってただけよ。ダメ元でトレーニング用に買ってもらったんだけど、飽きちゃった。イメージでどうにかできる問題じゃなかったっていうか。
You dummy, what the hell? Aoko shrugged at her past, at her past superficially, or her past superficiality. And Soujuro was led to believe yet another falsehood about modern life, that VCRs would go out of fashion.
それじゃあ留守番お願いね。
He
バイ
will.
ト、本当はないんでしょ
Aoko walked out of the drawing room smiling. Her grin was the cheap shot that left Soujuro speechless. As he scratched his cheek, he was reminded that she was not someone to be trifled with. After watching the end of the drama between her housemates, Alice made for the reception area as well. Left alone in the room, Soujuro took his seat on the sofa. Well, it's certainly not easy making everything run smoothly around these parts. Until they come back, he could enjoy his crocodile watching in peace. was wondering what I was looking at. It looked weird. Alrighty. Well, I think this is a good spot to end it. Almost 2 hours. We're on the next page. Yeah, we're on the next page. Look at that. What? Oh, I'm dumb. Yeah, just there you go. Place the bookmark. don't look for one that's not there. Alright. Bookmarks all set. Go to the archives, extras, anything. Ooh. Okay. That is a spoiler. Yeah, these next 3 are spoilers, so let's not worry about those. Let's not worry about those at all. But yeah, anyways, so it's the end of the stream for tonight. You know, I'm really happy to be able to get some progress done for what's it called? What's the word? For this game. Yeah, there you go, for this game. And you know, that's like a little bonus. I'll show you guys some progress real quick. We have a couple of things here. Add a couple of things here. I know some of you've been waiting for this one, but I'll show you this one instead. Have a little intro prepared for all you ReZero fans. Oh man, let me mute it. I want this song to be a surprise. I'm still working on it, so it's gonna be a little shaky. But let me just show like what's it called? The little animation I have right now. And then, you know what? Yeah, just show the full thing. Like I still have to color grade it, and I still have to see if like I'm not done with it yet. Basically, to put it in precise words. I'm working on it right now. Thumbnail's already done, as you can see. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I'm working on this. I'm working on this on the side. It's not like I'm done with Villain Saga. I'm still working on that as the main project, but this is something I want to do on the side as I prepare for season 3, since that ended like a week or 2 ago. So pretty fun. But yeah, no. That'll be it for now. You know, thank you all for watching as always, and I'll see you on the next.